Bookie Beatdown coming at you. Paul Shaughnessy, Cody Safdie, breaking down an Apex card. We're back to the Apex for the next 2 weeks, Codes. Some people are not excited. We're breaking down like just the greasiest European level, the greasiest North American level. So it's just like I look at the card and it's just like, is it the best UFC card? No. Am I gonna bet it? Yes. Am I gonna make maybe some some wagers that are a little bit unconventional because we have big chalk in the main and co-main event? Yes, because I'm a sucker for punishment. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. I'm actually happy to be back at the Apex. Week in, week out, we keep talking about hometown cooking and favorable rubs and the crowd that's live demanding blood, and then these fighters throwing out perfectly reasonable game plans to just swing for the fences. And yeah, now we're in the Apex. You mentioned how many greasy regional cards we break down, but these greasy regional cards have way bigger crowds than the Apex.
Yep.
KSW, Octagon MMA. There's some that we break down like Tough Enough that in fact don't have a bigger crowd than the Apex. But for the most part, you know what I mean. It's just the venue doesn't matter. It's all about the fights. And what I will admit is this week's card to me, it looks good, but a lot of the favorites are fairly chalky and see, it feels mush. It feels like everybody's on the same side, or you can't really make that strong of an argument for the B side, and yet the line isn't really moving and is hanging at a reasonable level. So it does feel in some ways like it's trappy. That's why I'm very excited to be joined by you, Paul Shaughnessy, so you can give me some of your takes and we can hammer this thing out together.
Because I'm going to do something stupid. And we start in the main event where we've got Michael Morales taking on Gilbert Burns. Average price is around minus 800 on the market for Michael Morales. Undefeated, 17, 18 and 0. He's a stud, and he's somebody who's 25 years old, getting better every single fight. Gil, 38 years old, a little bit long in the tooth at this point. I obviously think Michael Morales is, got the goods to get the job done here, but I don't know, man. At that minus 800, we've seen Morales at least keep things relatively competitive in a few of his matchups. He's got like a judo background. Like everything about him is like, childhood martial artist. And he keeps getting better every single fight. I totally 100% understand why he's the favorite. But, best win in his career, what? Neil Magny, Jake Matheus. Like, fair is fair with, with Gilbert Burns. People may say he's washed, he's absolutely done. Like, he was a few minutes away from beating the current champ, Jack Della Maddalena, utilizing that wrestling. Not that I think that he can use it here. Cody, as I said, I'm a sucker for punishment. I saw one of my books was hanging. It's way off market for like what's available on like fight odds right now. But Gil by sub plus 1,800. And I was just like, you know what? If you're looking for a sucker, you found one. So I took a little small poke on that. Do I expect it to win? No. But and Gil hasn't subbed anybody since he's subbed like one person in the last 6 years. So it's not like he's just rolling dudes over. He's fighting Sean Brady, Jack Della, Gilbert, or sorry, Bilal Muhammad. A little bit bad that he wasn't able to. He was able to get all that top time, all that control time against Masvidal and didn't get a sub. But like he's been fighting the best guys in the division. Neil Magny, obviously, the last time he subbed somebody was 2023, and then before that, we go all the way back to who was it? It was like 7 years ago. I was looking at it when I was just like,
Mike
should I
Davis.
do this? Mike Davis, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I kind of think at this number, do I expect Morales to pass the test? Yes. Am I willing to lay minus 800? You know me. I just basically never lay minus 800. So it's dog or pass from a betting perspective because MMA is a crazy bitch. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that it is. I do have Morales, but I can fully admit that minus 800, like, there's no value there. You can't bet it straight up. And then in terms of parlaying it, and Paul, you nailed it. This is by far the toughest fight of Michael Morales' career. Whereas for Gilbert Burns, he's fought in plenty of challenges better than this. So I do expect this thing to be competitive, but because it's a 5-round fight, the longer it goes, the more Michael Morales will take over. If this is just a 3-rounder, I think Gil could get off to a hot start, keep it competitive, and for this price, maybe cash. But in a 5-rounder, again, if Gil can keep it close and competitive through the first 3, I just feel like the wheels really do fall off after that. There's no doubt about it. A good in-shape version of Gilbert Burns can present a lot of guys a lot of problems. You look at that losing streak. He's very competitive versus Sean Brady in round 3, possibly wins round 3. Outside of that, goes a full 5 rounds with the top 5 guy. The fight with Jack Madeleine, a lot of people are saying he possibly is up 2 rounds before getting put away in the 3rd. His fight with Bilal Muhammad, he's very competitive for the first 2 rounds. His fight with Khamzat Chimaev, he's competitive pretty well the whole way through, but especially rounds 1 and 3. So him in shape can push a heavy contender deep, but it's always through the first 2 rounds, maybe the first 3 rounds. In 4 and 5, that's where you always see him fall off. And so I do expect Michael Morales, as you mentioned, 25 years old. He's also got an 8-inch reach advantage, 79 inches versus 71 for Gil. So essentially Gil can't strike at range. He's going to constantly be having to crash the pocket, fight with some winging hooks on the inside, and then likely shoot takedowns. If Gil's game plan is shoot for 25 minutes, he's going to gas way faster than he normally does. Also, keep in mind that Michael Morales is 6 feet tall. Paul mentioned he's from a judo background. Both of his parents are judokas, black belts. He started training judo at age 5. He started wrestling at age 10. He's a big man. So taking him down, especially if that's the game plan for 25 minutes, is going to be way easier said than done. You stand at range, you're getting chopped up, you're fighting on the inside, you're exerting too much energy. At some point, Gil starts to slow down. As he slows down, Morales takes over. Now, again, minus 800, what can you do with it? I believe at the very least it's going to get a few rounds in, 2.5, maybe an over 2.5. Also, though, live betting. If Gil comes in round 1 and manages to get these takedowns, but he's going to exert a whole lot of energy, he's going to muscle them, just like Jack Della, but he wins the first round. He might even win the second round. Well, it's not going to be minus 800 Morales, and you still got 3 rounds to work with, and I do expect him to take over in that time. So, yeah, this is a big step up for him in that he's been fighting Max Griffin and Neil Magny. Even his fight with Adam Fuga is actually quasi-competitive until the 3rd round where he finishes him. So, yeah, there's a vet lesson to be taught here, but the kid, because he's got 25 minutes to work with, should be able to make the adjustments and eventually get the win. So I'm looking at over totals, and I don't know if I'd say Michael Morales necessarily by decision, but yeah, again, a live betting spot is probably better than this pre-fight flop at minus 800.
We move on to the co-main event. We've got Rodolfo Bellato taking on Paul Bearju Craig. Current market price has Bellato at minus 550. The comeback on Craig plus 400. Your thoughts?
Okay, so Bellato can't take a punch. When you watch him on the regional scene, he fights Vitor Petrino. He gets knocked down in 25 seconds. The UFC sees fit to run it back on the Contender Series. He actually knocks down Vitor Petrino, but once Vitor got off the mat, he just delivers it right back to him, left hook, knocks Bellato out. Bellato's UFC debut, he wins. Second fight against Ior Peteria, he's a minus 550 favorite. He walks right into the fire, and Ior Peteria sits him down. And I would have lost a lot of money here. So, like, right then and there, it's like, I will never bet this man again. But to his credit, he gets up off the canvas and he ends up beating Ihor, but leaves something to be desired. His very next fight against Jimmy Crute, he damn near gets knocked down in the first round again. Hits the canvas, 10-8 first round for Jimmy Crute. And then to Bellato's credit, rounds 2 and 3, he fights his way back into it. So he's not always losing by knockout. It's that even when he wins, he's usually having to get up off the mat. When they give you someone like that as a big favorite, you can't trust him. He fights straightforward, head up in the air, bad defense, suspect chin, throws game plan right out the window. I did kind of believe his cardio was possibly a little bit suspect, but I will admit against Jimmy Crute, he showed he could fight 15 minutes need be, especially down 10-8 in the first to fight back is impressive enough. Still young enough, but he's just like a big meat missile, man. He's going to come at you, and if you have the skills to counterpunch him and you have enough power to keep him off you, you're going to fold him. You're a high-level guy, maybe with your wrestling. Maybe you can exploit this guy because he's very rudimentary with his approach. But this version of Paul Craig, I just don't see how he exploits him. First of all, this is Paul Craig going back to 205. So at 185, you'd see him on the scale. It was like, damn, Paul Craig looking good. And his proportions at 185 are very long as well. Now, of course, his biggest wins, whether it be Jamal Hill, whether it be Magomed Ankalaev, his biggest wins are at 205. But they're fluke wins, man. Like he's just a big 85er. Didn't have the success there. Now he's coming back to 205. And this particular matchup with Rodolfo's the same size as him. So Rodolfo, BJJ black belt, of course, grappling probably still edges towards Paul Craig, but it's the wrestling. Paul Craig's little ankle pick, his little single leg takedown, his little just dive for the leg over and over again. Like, it's not working against most guys. It's probably not going to work against Bellato in the first 10 minutes of this fight. Therefore, you need to stand with him. And considering you just got fairly outpointed by Bo Nickel in a 15-minute striking match, standing with Bellato is not going to be an easy task. So, a 205 especially, like, Paul Craig can't take a great punch. He's been knocked out, I think, 7 or 8 times. He definitely has durability issues. He's now 37 years old. He's on a long losing streak. He's got 8 submission of the night bonuses, so watch out, watch out. But those submissions are just coming way more infrequent. You know, it's few and far between those magic spots for him. It's mostly him getting shut down with his crappy wrestling game and getting boxed up on the feet. So Bellato should do exactly that. Do I think it's too big of a favorite? Yeah, kind of. Like, I don't love Bellato as a fighter. He doesn't make good choices, and he's a little stiff and rigid, but he's a powerhouse. And that physicality, that strength, that is actually what Paul Craig's biggest issue is that he's just getting manhandled in there. And Bellato is one of these animals that'll probably do exactly that. So I got Rodolfo Bellato to get the job done. But again, I don't think there's like the world's most value on it, but I do agree he wins.
You know me. I took one of my books had Craig by sub plus 900. He submitted Ankalaev. I mean, the TKO finish of Jamal Hill at 2. If we're talking 205, some of his best submissions are all at 205.
They
Cody.
all are. Yeah,
I'm just saying
are.
they were many years ago, and trust me, I understand that he's washed, and that that decision loss to Bo Nickel and losing on the feet to Bo Nickel definitely looks a hell of a lot worse after we saw what happened to Bo Nickel. So
it didn't age well.
that did not age well. For me, it's just like a numbers game. It's just like, okay, like let's do some like do you have one more rabbit to pull out of a hat? And at plus 900 for something that I think is like the majority of his win condition is like a club and sub or just get caught into some sort of like he's done it so many times before. It's not the great wrestling. It's just like being able to get the fight to the mat, being able to get a hold of you, and then catching you slipping, particularly early for Paul Craig. Do I expect to win? No. But when you're taking plus 900, plus 1,800 type of long shot props, you gotta slay a lot of dragons to get to the princess, as they say.
But to your point too, though, Paul, right? His last opponent, Bo Nickel, was like, I'm just going to use my wrestling so that we do not hit the ground.
Yeah.
Before that, Kale Barahau, very smart, high-level BJJ black belt. Brendan Allen, contender, BJJ black belt. The last time he actually submitted anybody was Nikita Krylov, who's kicking his ass, but is an idiot, and is like, I'm going to jump on top of him because I got him hurt. Bellato is that level of idiot. And that's what Paul Craig needs. He's not going to take him down. He'll get stunned and hit the ground, and a smart guy would be like, stand back up. But one of these low ring IQ, frothing at the mouth, TRT through the roof guys are going to jump on top of him, and that's where he'll throw up a triangle or something. So a submission prop, yeah, you're not crazy for that. I see the angle there.
Yeah. Like when you're betting 9 and like big props like this, it's like you expect to lose. The market is telling you you're probably going to lose, but I think there's value on it, so I'm betting it. We move on down. We've got Sodiq Yusuff taking on Mairon Santos. Yusuff is the underdog at plus 123. Santos can be had for minus 143. Your boy Santos. Everyone was saying that it was an absolute robbery last time out against Francis Marshall, and then he actually came out and said that he didn't think that he had actually won. I think this is an interesting fight because, Santos does go to decision a whole bunch. In terms of an actual pick on the side, I do like Santos. I think he's just got a little bit more technical savvy on the feet. He is a little bit patient and all of that, but like after last fight where he really didn't go for it, I could see him being a little bit more aggressive in this fight. And then Sodiq, on the other hand, he finishes a lot of guys early, or he gets finished early in fights. And then sometimes he goes the full 5 rounds like he did against Edson Barbosa. But you go back and rewatch that fight, and he damn near had Edson Barboza out of there in round one. He comes out firing. He comes out hot. So what has my attention on this fight is the market doesn't necessarily agree, and I haven't bet it yet, but I've been monitoring, waiting, thinking that like fight ends inside the distance, plus 185. Minus 196 is best on the market right now for under 2.5. Like, I think we could see some violence here. The market disagrees because Santos it does mind his P's and Q's a lot, but like Yusuff is the kind of guy that'll just come out there and start swanging. So Santos is the pick. And I'm interested in the unders on this one. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm taking Sodiq Yusuff, underdog. It's more of a dogger pass type spot where it's like I can see both guys winning, but one of them I'm getting some plus money value on. So I'm going to go Sodiq Yusuff. So the interesting angle for me on this one is that when you watch Sodiq, it's like technically he is a good striker and he's got some legitimate power and he's got some decent speed. BJJ black belt under Lloyd Irvin, get some good rounds in. But what's his problem? And Paul's kind of speculating potentially cardio. He's a fast starter. You see a number of these fights. He has a really good first round, and then he starts to fall off. I'm speculating he's got a bad chin. I think that he just can't really take that good of a punch. And the Edson Barboza fight, when he fails to get Edson out of there, Edson, is able to catch him. Arnold Allen was able to drop him one time and then rock him. And then, of course, his last fight with Diego Lopez, he flat out gets knocked out. So to me, I'm thinking it's a durability issue. Paul's thinking it's a cardio issue. In either scenario, you don't really want to back a guy like that. But he's taken some time off and he's moving up to 155 pounds. And I think that's going to be a real big difference maker here is that he's a career 145er. But why is he slowing down? And why is his durability questionable? Probably because he's cutting a whole bunch of weight. Now, interestingly enough, some UFC events, depending on what commission they're in, they'll make guys re-weigh in after weigh-ins. So you'll weigh in on Friday, then you'll show up to the venue on Saturday. The commission will bring in a scale and they'll just re-weigh you. So you can see he's re-weighed in before. I want to bring up the exact fight. Gabriel Benitez. This is 5 years ago. He fights Benitez at 145. After Friday, from Friday to Saturday, he put on 24.2 pounds, stepped in the ring at 169.2, up from 145. So on fight day, he's a welterweight. And he's likely walking around the streets at 175. And then come fight time, he's fight camp. He's cutting 30 pounds over the stretch of an 8-week camp, fighting, gassing out after the first round or getting rocked by shots he otherwise probably could take. Well, why is that? Well, because he's cutting 30 pounds to make the weight. So I think him at 155, does this make him a contender? No. Is moving up a weight class the best? Usually not. But I think it's going to help him a lot because he's already skilled. But if he can now have a little more gas in the tank and he can take a few better shots, then that skill will really start to shine. Look at the Arnold Allen fight. He's almost tripling him up on significant strikes, right? It's that Arnold will land a partially blocked head kick and he'll do the stanky leg. Or Arnold will get at work, land a knockdown, and that'll sway the judges. Without those knockdowns, he's beating quality guys. The Bruce Leroy fight, I didn't think he looked great, but all the same, did what he needed to do. The Edson Barboza fight, almost a 10-8 in the first. And I thought he won the second round as well, to be honest with you. This is a 3-round fight. He wins. It's a 5-round fight and he gasses. And then Diego Lopez, whatever, he got the quick start on him. Point being that this could be a much better version of him. Now, Mairon Santos, the interesting angle here is that his last loss is a few years back against Dan Argueta in LFA at 135 pounds. Then he jumps on the Ultimate Fighter, which was at 145. So they usually do that. You fight up a weight class on Tough. Coming out of Tough, he fights Keenan Offley at 145. And then his last fight against Francis Marshall, it's at 145. He doesn't look good in that fight. I still think he won. He doesn't even think he won. Most of the fans don't think he won. Bottom line is he looked like crap. He looked like crap, and that's him at 145. The logical choice here is probably for him to try going down to 35 again. But the interesting thing is that the UFC calls him and says, we need someone short notice to fight Sodiq Yusuff at 155. Mairon Santos says, could I get something at 145? The UFC says, no, this is what we're offering you. So I think they're mad at him. It was not a great fight against Francis Marshall. It's a contentious split. Now they're calling him and saying, take this fight short notice up a weight class. Earn your roster spot. Make us want to keep you around. Keep in mind, I mentioned he was on the Ultimate Fighter. He's the 7th pick on the show for 145 pounds. Shows you how little they thought of him on the show. And then you win the fight finale. You win one fight in the UFC, and you're a favorite over like a decent 45 contender at one point. Kind of a tough sell, right? So, like, I do have Sodiq Yusuff. The one thing I'm going to disagree with you here on, Paul, is because I'm taking Sodiq, I think Sodiq outpoints him. So, like, you're inside the distance, although this could be a violent fight. I think it's Mairon's win condition. I think if Mairon knocks him out, he does have fast hands. He's low output, but he's got fast hands. Like, that left hook that knocks out awfully is on the money. He tends to sway side to side, generate a whole bunch of force off some hooks. He could catch you off balance. If you come forward, he can counter you. If you don't come forward, maybe he sets something up. But watching the Offley fight, I thought he was gun shy. Watching the Francis Marshall fight, he's definitely gun shy. Sodiq Yusuff also, people don't think he can grapple because he's hardly ever grappling. But you watch back some of these spots from Sodiq.
Fight where he got the submission win, right?
Yeah, well, that one's just easy money because Sheamus is a bum. So I can't take stock in that one. But if you watch his fight with Edson Barbosa, the takedown in that one, his fight with Alex Bruce Lloyd, they're not just like he trips you to the ground. He takes you down and gets 2 minutes of control time. He is a black belt. It's that when you're fighting Edson Barbosa, Diego Lopez, Bruce Leroy, Arnold Allen, hell, even Andre Fili, those guys aren't the easiest guys in the world to be taking down consistently. When you're taking on a guy that's been fighting at 135 just a few years back, he's 24 years old. He just got taken down by Francis Marshall. Why wouldn't Yusuff mix in some element of grappling into this instead of just standing with him the entirety of the time? Why not mix in some of that grappling and keep it close? So if the line was flipped, I'm sure I could come up with some great arguments on the other side. But it's dog money for Sodiq, and I've got back class experience. I'm very intrigued with him moving up to 155. They didn't give him an actual 55er. They're giving him a guy that's even smaller than he is. I think 2 inches shorter with maybe an inch less in the reach department. So super Sodiq. Hopefully this is the shot in the arm his career really needs at this stage.
100%. I mean, we're totally on opposite sides of that fight in every single facet possible. But that's what makes betting fun. Where is the value in that fight?
Would you
Cody,
like a shoey? Is there a shoey
you
bet
love chalky overs. I'm a Finnish apologist. I understand that chalky overs hit more often because they're chalky.
But how chalky is a chalky over? Like last week, we just absolutely killed a bunch of 1.5s that were like minus 150, minus 160, minus 170. Those are fine. I hear what you're saying. Sometimes it's a 2.5 at minus 270. Cody is the kind of person to bet those. Yes, Paul's not lying.
I'm gonna wait for you guys to get I'm gonna end up on this prop at some point.
Fair, that's fair.
The market is moving in your that direction for the most part. So I'm in no rush to hop on it right now. I just think someone like Mairon Santos, after maybe he's feeling a little pressure from the UFC brass, that maybe he comes out a little bit more aggressive to start this fight. In terms of a side, I think that becomes a little bit chaotic, and in a chaotic type of situation, I'm going to take an under. But who knows? Who knows what actually happens in there when these guys get locked in the cage in their underwear and fight for money?
Yeah.
Your guess is as good as mine. We got Big Ruzi taking on Dustin. Stoltzfus. Big Ruzi minus 280 favorite. Stoltzfus plus 240. Who you got?
Yeah, initially I'm like, Dustin Stoltzfus is going to spring this upset, and I need an underdog, and this seems like a logical underdog, but I think I'm just going to claim Sodiq Yusuff's an underdog, and I already got one, and I'm just going to stick to logical picks. I can't personally get to Dustin Stoltzfus. What I will say about Ruzi is, 6'5", really tall guy. This is him back at 185 pounds, so figures like you could get to the hips. But yeah, I think that he's a low output guy that you can just you can just outwork. You can outwork him, and you can mix in some takedowns. What I mean by that is him versus Cedric Dumas. At the time of the knockout, he had landed 12 significant strikes. Like, he's hardly even throwing down with a guy that's just awful standing. His fight with Joaquin Buckley, he had landed 31 significant strikes over 15. His fight with Eric McConaughey, his last time out, 20 significant strikes, landed 5.5 minutes of action. So, he just doesn't really pull the trigger. When he does, nasty right hand. Big guy, generates a lot of power. But for the most part, he just seems to kind of wait for you to jump in and then looks to counter off something. So, there's elements to his game I don't love. Also with the Joaquin Buckley fight, Joaquin Buckley takes him down twice in the first round, twice in the second round. The third round, he knocks him down, so he didn't need to take him down. So that's why it's not credited to him. But he spends time on top of him in all 3 rounds. He's able to move to mount at one point. Dustin Stoltzfus, from Pennsylvania originally, wrestled in high school, can wrestle, has taken down some decent enough guys. has grappled with guys like Rodolfo Vieira and Gerald Mearshart, is accredited BJJ black belt. That submission win over Paolo Soriano a few years back would have aged better if it was Soriano 170, but all the same, to take him down and submit him with relative ease is all good stuff. So in my mind, initially, Stoltzfus is going to have the type of wrestling that he can mix in and up against Ruziboev. He can get him up against the cage. He can mix in some double legs. He can control him. If this fight was to end up on the ground, Stoltzfus is a better grappler. No doubt in my mind about that. If the fight's to stay standing, Ruziboev might be a little more technical as a striker, but Stoltzfus is going to have the volume. He's able to pressure forward. He's been fighting reinvigorated lately. He takes chances. He enters the pocket. He swings with you. So why wouldn't you take him? But you got to do your tape study. And then when you look at the tape, it's like he is a defensive liability. He lunges into the pocket largely with his hands low and his head up in the air. Go ahead.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's a fun style because it's like, oh, he's coming at you. And when you're taking on lower level guys, it's something that can work. But you go back to his fight with, a boost where it's like your fight starts and it's like ping right up the middle. Oh, this guy's hurt. Oh, this guy's over 19 seconds in. His fight with Bruno Ferreira, it's two spinning back fists that land. The first one absolutely caused him to stank. Then he eats a barrage of shots. Then it seems like he gets his wits about him. And then as he's standing there with his hands down trying to defend, a second spinning back elbow smacks him in the face and takes him down. He doesn't even go out. He hits the deck and he just stands right back up again. But the refs waved it off and he's cool with it. He's like, oh yeah, I'm really hurt right now. But I wouldn't say he's got a bad chin as much as he just walks into well-timed shots all of the time. Height-wise, he's 5 inches shorter. Reach-wise, he's only giving up 1 inch. But the height means everything. Joaquin Buckley has the exact same reach as Ruziboev. But when they fight, Buckley's got to constantly lunge in because he's punching upwards, whereas Ruziboev just sits there and intercepts you from the outside. I feel like that's what's going to happen here. Stoltzfus is going to come in. He's going to have to enter that pocket, right? As he comes in the danger zone, he doesn't have the type of footwork nor the head movement to be able to slip off the line, counter off something, and get to the hips. He'll largely just walk straight in. Even if he does get to the hips, he can wrestle a little bit. I'll give him that. And his jiu-jitsu's sick. I'll give him that. But even if he does get to the hips, Ruziboev's got decent takedown defense. He's a big, strong guy that knows how to use leverage, has like 40 pro fights. And this ain't little Ruzi we're talking about. This is big Ruzi. His brother's crap.
Little Ruzi's a bomb.
He seemed to get most of the genetic gifts when they were coming out of the womb. Not that they're twins or anything, but his parents definitely gave him the genetics, not so much his brother. I just honestly, my gut feeling is that he's going to knock out Stoltzfus at some point, likely in the second round. And get the job done that way. So Ruziboev just too big, too long, is making improvements, fighting at the highest level. And Stoltzfus, all the skill to spring an upset. But I think defensively, he's going to make a few too many mistakes. And Ruziboev is one of these guys that will capitalize on that mistake and take him out of there.
Yeah, even though like Ruzi, is a bit of a liability. His grappling's not the greatest. It's like he still went to decision against Buckley. And Buckley's absolutely surging in the welterweight division right now. So
his get-up game's good in that fight too.
Yeah.
Like he gets taken down and then he immediately just posts and gets back up. It's at welterweight, I get it, but at 85 he'll be able to fill out. I think he'll be better here.
Agreed. Yeah, I think Ruzi wins. I think Ruzi wins by knockout. Slightly over minus 130. That's like one of the worst prices that I've seen. I saw like a minus 113 earlier today. I'll probably have some money on Ruzi by KO. Minus 113. I mean, I'm doing mostly props this week because like I really don't like a bunch of the money lines. I think they're a little bit further, more juice than I would like this week. So is what it is. All right, we got Juicy J, Julian Erosa taking on Melk Costa. The Melk boys have pushed Melk all the way. He was all the way down to minus 225 at one point. There has been some buyback on Juicy J, Julian Erosa, minus 180, plus 160. Be interesting to see what happens when this fight hits the mat, because both of these guys have really been springing a whole bunch of, nice submission skills or nice submission ability and stuff like that. Juicy J's chin has always been a liability, always been a problem for him. But like he's a very skilled guy on the feet. He's got, I think, the better like volume-based striking game here. It's just and Melk hasn't really shown too much like absolute like nuking type of power to knock you out. I'm leaning towards Juicy J to spring the upset here. Um, and probably some violence. I don't mind like a Juicy J by sub type of thing, because like he's kind of shown that it's like if he gets that Darce or he gets that guillotine, like nobody's safe. Maybe it's YC Lindsay in our chat, who's in the Discord, that's molding my mind, but he was like telling us, last time out, how Juicy J was going to absolutely murder Darren Elkins. And I was just watching that fight, before we came in, and I was just like, it was hard to watch. Hard to watch because it's like we saw the fight like a month ago, and you're just like, it's like the car crash is coming. You've seen the car crash already, and then you're watching the car crash all over again. But I'm leaning towards Juicy J here. What about you?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Melk Costa, but I see all your points. I think it's going to be a fun fight. I think both guys have a lot of merit to them. But with Erosa, I don't know. I can't even discredit him. Like, yeah, he's been knocked out 8 times in his career. So that's obviously the knock on him is he's got durability issues. The vast majority of those knockout losses are in the first round. Of the vast majority of those knockout losses are within the first minute.
Mhm.
So, yeah, he can't really take much. The other thing is there's a plethora of these fights that he wins. Like, let's say... Okay, he beat Charles Jourdain, but Charles Jourdain dropped him to the canvas. He was able to get up and beat Charles. He beat Sean Woodson. Yeah, but Sean Woodson drops him to the canvas. He's able to get up and he beats him. He beats Jamal Emmers. Yeah, but Jamal Emmers drops him. Like, he's been knocked down in 3 of his wins. Plus, he's been knocked out 8 times in his career. When you watch him, it's like we always talk about how it's a poor man Dominic Cruz's style. He's got the footwork. He steps in and out. He creates all these angles, but he's just like not nearly as athletic as Dominic Cruz. He's not as fast as Dominic Cruz. So he leaves his head out there a ton. Now, this little win streak, it's nice. And when you're looking at Melk Costa as a striker, my humble opinion, but Hakeem Dawodu is a better striker. Charles Jourdain is a better striker. Sean Woodson or Nate Landwehr are probably better strikers. So he's fought better guys to this level before. But his last few is like he getting hit a lot. That last fight with Christian Rodriguez 2 fights back, he ends up getting the submission win, nice little guillotine choke. But standing, it's like he's running into a lot of punches. Rodriguez, not known as a power puncher, doesn't put him down. And Costa's really not known as a power puncher as well. But when you fight that type of style, you're live to just get nuked at some point. Now, Erosa's made a lot of improvements. He's a savvy veteran. He's fought in a very high level of competition. He's a tenured guy at this point. And then for him to come back and, get a nice little win over Darren Elkins shows that he's back. Month later, he's jumping back in there. But watching the Elkins fight, and you just watched it before the show, right? He's slow. He's really slow in that fight. Elkins takes him down twice, right? And the first one's just like he just grabs the leg and Rosa just sits on his butt immediately. The second one, it's like Elkins explodes forward and there's zero explosion on it. It's like he's moving underwater, and yet he still grabs a hold of Erosa and takes him down. Even when he's half concussed, holding on to an ankle, he's still able to grip Erosa. So when I look at Melk Costa is a lot faster than him. Now, knocking out Erosa usually means punching him in the head, unless you're Bruce Leroy. And Melk doesn't throw a ton of punches. He's mostly kicks. He kicks to the body, he kicks to the head, kicks to the body, kicks to the head, kicks to the body, kicks to the head. He used a really nice volume-based attack against Christian Rodriguez his last time out. If you go back to his fight with Austin Lingo, he lands 100 significant strikes, almost all of which are to the body with body kicks. Seems like he's a fast guy. He's been making improvements, got a decent guillotine choke of his own, but I think it's his takedown game. Whereas I don't rate it as being really all that good. I think against Julian Erosa, he's going to have success with it. You go back and you watch his fight with Shaolin Nurbayaki, a decent enough wrestler. He gets him down twice. His last time out with Christian Rodriguez, the one takedown. When he fought Steve Garcia, he went hard on the takedowns, getting him down twice. Again, elite wrestlers, they're going to stuff this no problem. But Erosa is one, just he's not an elite wrestler, but he gives you the takedown. He's so confident in his scrambling abilities, and he's so confident in his guillotine choke, and he's so confident in his ground game that oftentimes he just doesn't even try to defend the takedown. Therefore, Melk standing is just going to bomb him with kicks and then mix in some takedowns. And younger, stronger, faster, those are kind of all the reasons I ended up jumping with him. Now, Melk is very unpredictable in that when he looks good, he looks pretty good. When he looks bad, he doesn't look good at all. Oftentimes, I'm on the wrong side because what I expect from him is not what ends up being delivered. And Rose is the same thing. He's an upset specialist. When he wins, you don't see it coming. When you expect him to look good, he looks awful. So this is like a very, very difficult fight from a betting standpoint to be certain about. Both guys are fairly untrustworthy. But ultimately, yeah, bigger, faster, stronger. Melk Costa, and I think that's going to pay dividends and get him a victory come Saturday.
Yeah. And when I'm uncertain, I take the underdog. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to bet Julian Erosa money line, but that's definitely my lean. We are on all sorts of different sides this week. So, it's funny when we all agree, they go, oh, some people will be like, oh, I'm going to bet this side. And it's just like, well, you're going to have to pick your poison this week, boys, because we can't really agree on everything. And that's just the nature of gambling, man. Like, that's going to happen week to week. Let's see where we're at on this one. We got Matheus Camilo taking on Gabriel Green. Camilo minus 230 favorite. Green could be at plus 195. Who you got?
Yeah, here's a bad pick for you. I'll take Gabe Green. Like honestly, he's not good, and a move down to 155 is probably not going to solve all the numerous issues. But honestly, he is a 55er. Like before he comes to the UFC, he's mostly fighting at 155 or catch weights of 160 pounds. So I feel like that's the weight class coming down. Probably a better weight class for him. Now he's like not the most technical guy, but he makes up with that with just sheer tenacity. Fights you with inside the pocket, constantly coming forward, wing shots to the bodies, wing shots to the head, 15-minute cardio if need be, but just a violent guy altogether. Debuts in the UFC against Daniel Rodriguez, and he had landed 127 significant strikes on D-Rod on short notice against a big welterweight. Loses, but I mean, that's pretty respectable. It's a decent fight. Wins 2 fights against guys that are pretty well no longer with the organization. Johan's cut Phil, I think, is still rostered. But anyways, then he goes the distance with Ian Gary, where he lands 90 significant strikes and a takedown on Ian Gary. His takedown, he got like a minute 45 at a control time with it in the 3rd round. So like, Gary, who goes the distance, Daniel Rodriguez, he goes the distance, and then last time out, he gets punched out by Brian Battle. But it's 14 seconds. He looked okay for 14 seconds. The second thing is that Brian Battle missed weight. He came in at 173 pounds. Like, whatever, a big guy who missed weight, chin checked you, and you were fighting stupid, crashing the pocket. But things happen. Here's my point: is that Brian Battle's 7-1 in the UFC, and Ian Gary's 9-1 in the UFC. And D-Rod's 9-4 in the UFC. So, like, you got to be good to beat Gabe Green. I know we laugh at him like he's not skilled. He's fighting skilled guys. And more often than not, like, giving them some degree of discomfort. He's challenging them to some level. So, yeah, he's got a 2-3 UFC record, but he's got 5 UFC fights. He's fought a ranked contender in Machado. Brian Battle's obviously not bad. D-Rod's really not all that bad. He's got some volume. His grappling's not terrible. Durability, I don't love, but that's at 170. So at 155, maybe he'll be able to take some of those shots and he'll be able to keep pushing that pace. He's not fought in 2 years. I really don't love that. But coming off a knockout loss, maybe he's just cleared the cobwebs and kind of gotten back to business. I don't know. What I do know is that he's an underdog and he fights like a dog. He will come forward and try to get this thing done. Matheus Camilo, 24 years old, Brazilian prospect. It's kind of a weird story. So, if you're watching the show, you're a hardcore, you already know the show. Guy shows up to Dana White's press conference, says, I want to fight in the UFC. Dana says, oh, what's your record? Guy says 7-0. 7-0. Perfect. You're signed. Then the last minute, they say, you know what? Fight on this looking for a fight episode in Korea. Camilo comes out. He stuffs the takedowns. He wins the fight. You watch his fight with Janoski Soho on Tough Enough prior to that. He doesn't like fighting off his back foot. Like offensively, this kid will fight 2, 3, 4, 5 punch combinations. Loves the hook, loves that big outside low kick. He doesn't look huge for the weight class. And if you can push him back, if you can cause him to fight off his back foot, he seems uncomfortable. Now, that last time against Nabatov's just shooting a ton of takedowns, gets a bunch of them, but the kid's throwing up triangle chokes. He's throwing up arm bars. He's scrambling. He's getting back up, and then he's landing some more damage. So he's able to edge this relatively close fight, close enough, because he's going for damage and he's going for submission attempts. But against Gabe Green, Gabe constantly makes you fight off your back foot. Not saying he's good, but his style is he's the one moving forward, not you. So you're going to have to counter him and clip him and knock him out. Albeit possible, Camilo's knocked out one guy in his last 6 fights. He's knocked out one guy in the last 4 years. So if Ian Gary's not knocking out Gabe Green and D-Rod's not knocking out Gabe Green, well, I just don't really feel comfortable that this 24-year-old Brazilian, who's essentially down a weight class from those guys and has one win in the last 4 years by knockout, is he going to clip Gabe Green? I don't know. Is he going to take Gabe Green down? Well, it's not really his style. His style is strike with you and then fight off of his back if need be. So there's just a lot of questions I have. I got a 5-fight UFC veteran who's fought in good guys versus a kid making his UFC debut. It's enough for me to just say it's unshaky, it's uncertain. Gabe Green's I wouldn't say a big underdog, but like good enough. And I think he's got a shot. Now, is it the logical pick? No, it's not the logical pick, but it's dog money. And I do think some dogs will come through. Hopefully Gabe Green's one of them.
Yeah, like I'm not betting this Camilo kid. I like Gabe Green as well. That's why I was trying to hop in to like kind of like agree with you on a couple spots there.
I was cooking, Paul.
I know. It's hard switching and like trying to make time codes and all. I'll get better at all of these things, but like yeah, there's certain things that are it's nice to have an extra hand, which we've had in the past and we will have in the future, but not making enough quite yet with this business to be going out there high. We don't have Mayo money, But no, I saw the market move on this Camilo kid, and I was just like, what is this? Some sort of like super prospect? And Gabe Green obviously hasn't fought in a little bit of time here. But and the one thing I was going to hop in on is when you were like, oh, he looked good for those. That was the one thing I disagreed with, is that he looked good for those 14 seconds against Brian Bellato. It's like he just went straight up YOLO mode. And like
he was landing.
And he was landing, and it was absolute chaos, absolutely crazy. But it's like it was very out of character, I would say, for most of his UFC career. Maybe he was bonus hunting. I don't know. It wasn't necessarily the best look, but like 2 years to shake the cobwebs at this point. Yeah, I went and watched the Gary fight, and I'm like, I mean, considering where Gary is now, and I think Gary's made a lot of improvements since then, but not a horrible performance by any stretch of the imagination, considering the opponent. And then, yeah, the Camilo guy, it's like Nabokov showed up to like a Topuria versus Holloway presser, and then he's like, get me in the UFC. So then they matched him up with Camilo. Camilo's training in Vegas with like Chris Curtis and Mairon Santos. And I watched a little bit on the Instagram of like them kind of working together and stuff, but I don't know. I watched some of his tape and it's like I didn't really see anything all that impressive that would lead me to, betting a minus 230 price tag against a 10-year veteran with a bit of a layoff to shake the cobwebs. Like minus 230 seems like a lot of steam. I don't think Gabe Green is that bad. I mean, the fight against Ian Gary shows that he's really not that bad. And Gabe Green is actually, for probably one of the first fights in a long time, is actually going to have like size advantages.
Yeah.
So I think he could do a lot worse than like near plus 200 on Gabe Green this week. We got Jared Gordon taking on Thiago Moises. Gordon, a minus 118 favor. Moises can be had for minus 102. Pretty much a straight pick 'em, but yeah, I watched a whole bunch of the different fights and like different stylistic matchups. The Gordon versus Dawson fight, I suppose that's a bit of a concern there, but like Dawson had to take him down 7 times to get that submission in round 3. Dawson was throwing up volume and like staying super busy. I think this fight kind of comes down to like, you look at Gordon versus Patty, and I think Patty's made a lot of improvements since that fight. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, I mean, Gordon probably should have won that fight, or at least it was close enough that, I mean, I had a ticket on Patty that I bet live, and I did it because I'm like, they're going to rob this guy. I didn't even do it because I thought that it should win. I just felt it in my plums that they were going to screw this guy over. I think like if this fight just kind of stays standing, Jared Gordon, historically we talked about like his chin and stuff. That hasn't really shown up all that much in quite a long time. He probably just went through a stretch where he got a little bit unlucky there. I think it kind of comes down to volume, and if they're just staying on the feet, Jared Gordon throws way more. So I like Gordon as a short favorite, I suppose. Here, the market is starting to go that way as well. It seems. Jared Gordon for me. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I got Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon's like very unassuming in that when you think about him, you're like, guy's chinny. Well, I mean, who knocked him out? Charles Oliveira. I give him a pass. Joaquim Silva. If anybody remembers that fight, it was like a fight of the year candidate. It was unreal. He almost knocked out Joaquim, but he's playing punchy with a devastating puncher. Not good fighter, but a really good puncher. And then Carlos Diego Ferreira, same thing. He's just like a top-notch puncher, right? So against Brazilian guys that can crack, yeah, maybe not for Jared Gordon, but outside of that, he's got durability, he's got cardio, he's got decent wrestling. BJJ black belt, can throw a volume, can swarm you. And the story of his career is these close what ifs. Like the Paddy Pimblett fight, should have gotten the win. And his last time out against Nazareth, I had Nazareth, but like he could have got the win in that fight too. You give him those wins, it changes everything. He's unbeaten since the Grant Dawson fight in 2022. Unfortunately, this decision goes against him in the Pimblett fight, and it goes against him in the Nazareth fight. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he lands 141 against Nazareth Hakparas. In the clinch against Paddy Pimblett, he takes Paddy down 3 times. He holds him up against the cage almost at will. Michael Chandler wasn't coming anywhere near Pat. Paddy's one of the biggest guys in the division, and yet Jordan can't grapple. Jared Gordon used to fight at 145. At 155, this guy don't look out of place. And I mean, he's doing all the right things. I've always been told that it's like, I got to treat your body right because you only get one body. And if you destroy this thing young, you're going to have to deal with the repercussions as an older man. It seems like these guys that are former drug addicts who end up dying of a drug overdose at some point and then are resuscitated back to life can just keep fighting well into their better years. Look at Court McGee. Look at Matt Brown. They hit their strides in their late 30s. Paul Shaughnessy.
Counterpoint.
It's like once you've beaten death, you can beat Father Time a little bit too. Not many people can say that. Go ahead.
Counterpoint. Terrence McKinney.
Oh, Terrence died for it was like an allergic reaction or something, wasn't it?
I think it was drugs.
Oh, it was drugs. Okay. Well, I didn't say infinite cardio, which used to be a theory of mine back in the day. But Ian McCall would gas, and it was like, Ian, come on, I got a great theory here. But yeah, maybe Terrence is going to find until he's 40. We don't know, Paul. We don't know. Just keep an eye on that one. Former drug addicts. Once they're like, I got a second lease on life. It's like, no, you actually did. You like start right back at 0 and then you go back up. So I'll admit, Jared Gordon to me is fighting some of his best fights. Now, Thiago Moises is I would say technically better everywhere. Like he's a little more polished with his striking, but he throws half of the volume. He's a little bit more technical with his BJJ, but he's not nearly as strong. His wrestling, it's not that good. And he'd be rocking a 35% takedown accuracy, which is actually better than Gordon's 32%. But I don't think his wrestling is good enough to take Jared Gordon down. And if it is, not to take him down consistently. Because as you mentioned, Grant Dawson had to do it 7 times. Well, Thiago's not going to stick to 7 takedowns. If he does get the takedown, Jared's adequate enough that he should be able to stay safe and then get back up to his feet. On the feet, Thiago's got nice little leg kicks. He's faster than Jared. And like I said, he's a little more technical. But he averages 2.5 strikes landed per minute. Jared Gordon lands 5.75. He's more than doubled the numbers. And both guys are tenured vets. You can watch a pile of fights. Thiago does not throw. Jared throws, man, for better or for worse. He's coming forward and he's mixing it up. So the judges, especially in the apex, where it's high acoustics, you can hear everything. Jared's coming forward. Jared's stuffing more takedowns than not. He's going for damage, which they say damage over control in Vegas, and he can maybe get a few takedowns of his own. Thiago shoots these takedowns, you stuff them. That also looks visually good to the judges. Jared Gordon hustles him. Now, I think Jared Gordon by decision, if we're being honest, because, like, does he knock out Thiago? I don't know. Does he submit Thiago? No, probably not. So, like, why not chase it a little bit? Well, because, like Paul said, it's, like, near even as it is. The money line's pretty good. It is MMA.
And him by decision is plus 115. Don't do that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just like you're not improving enough off of it. So just play it safe. Just go with the Jared straight up.
Sorry, I was flipping over the tab. Yeah. Right now, at least, I'm sure other places will have better. Like Bet Online, they open the market, so it's no. When I say these things, it's like no slight on them. they open the market. It's usually short on a bunch of odds, and then they'll adjust over the course of the week based on where other people open up. But yeah, plus 115, Gordon by decision. It's just like, I'll just take the money line.
You're just asking for it.
You're asking for it, stealing those. Like, this isn't low level WMMA that we're talking about here. All right, moving on down. We got Yadier DelValle taking on Connor Matheus. DelValle, a minus 430 favorite. Matheus can be had for plus 330. Who you got?
Yeah, so guy making his debut in the UFC, who's very much green, talented fighter, Yadier. But he's very green, and he's making his UFC debut, and he's a colossal favorite. So there's going to be stuff you don't like about it. But yeah, outside of that, I think he wins this fairly straightforward. Connor Matheus, and it's like, I hate to beat a dead horse because I mention this every time he fights. But like, this is his record. Turns pro, he fights a guy that's 0-7, Stacey Anderson, 1-8, Rob Fuller, a 2-1, Joshua Mayer, a 15-97, Jay Ellis, a 1-2, Josh Hardy, and he's on the Contender Series. Best win of his career, probably the Jay Ellis one, 15-97. So, like, I get it. Guys want to just get a nice little 5-0 record and then jump on the Contender Series, but he's not built it up. He's not good. He comes from like a hockey background. He has no real combat sports pedigree. Did not wrestle in high school. Did not wrestle in college. He maybe wrestled a little bit in high school. That might be a reach on my part, but no real credentials, no real boxing background, no nothing. Just eventually at some point was like, I'm a tough East Coast Massachusetts kid. They're tough, and I'm gonna get with the Combat Cartel. They've taught him how to fight. I just don't think he's elite in any one area. I don't think he's good in any one area. When you look at him fight on the Contender Series the first time, he gets taken down 6 times by Francis Marshall. You give him a pass because Francis, well, he actually wrestled in college. He actually has a base, so he loses that one. It's every fight since then he's using his wrestling, and he's not a wrestler. It's that's what he's got. It's like if you take on a college level guy, you're gonna have zero success. If you're taking on a guy that has no idea how to wrestle, that's how his preferred method of fighting is. Dennis Bazooka, he takes him down. Bazooka gets back up. He starts to throw some strikes. You see Connor has a tough, rugged style. In that Bazooka fight, I'll give him props. He took a lot of big shots, but by the third round, he's just chewed up. There's 4 or 5 punches that could have knocked him out in the first 2 rounds, but he took them. The third round, he just can't take him anymore. They bring him back against Jose Delgado. You and I are heavy on Jose Delgado in that spot because he's a lot better, but he's going to touch up Matheus, and he does. Now, credit to Connor Matheus, he got 2 takedowns, but that's it. They're desperation takedowns. Once you work your way back up, he looks lost. Now he's 32 years old. His confidence is shot to bits. He has really nothing in the way of a notable victory, and he's being thwarted in against these tough up-and-coming guys time and time again. So it's just like a thankless spot. Yadier DelValle, meanwhile, when you watch him on the Fury FC circuit, high volume, athletic guy, looks green to me. It looks like he's got a lot of progress that needs to be made. Solid hips. I think he believes he has a bit of a judo base as well. Can stuff takedowns, but just keep getting this guy more high-level experience and maybe he'll come around. They bring him on the Contender Series against this Antonio Montero. He lands 125 significant strikes in that fight, a couple takedowns of his own. They both had some submission attempts. He makes a pile of mistakes in the fight. But again, he's young and he's athletic and he's in good shape, so he can overcome bad spots because, again, he's ready to go. Matheus will likely get a takedown. Matheus may likely hold him up against the cage for a few minutes. Matheus might come forward, land a big overhand right, and then, force this guy into a scramble. Fair. He's going to test him in the first 3 to 5 minutes. And then after that, you're going to see that Yadier is a lot stronger than him. He's a lot faster than him. Technically, he's a lot better. And I think 125 significant strikes land on a guy like Antonio Montero. Well, he can take it. 125 significant strikes land on a guy like Connor Matheus. He's folding up. He's folding up. And that's what I do expect to happen. So I got Yadier to finish this fight, probably by TKO, likely in the second or third round. But on a moneyline standpoint, he's a debuting guy that makes a lot of mistakes. No doubt those mistakes will become less frequent, and his coaching staff will be able to shore up a lot of the holes, and he'll start to go more and more well-rounded, but that comes with experience. And to this point, he doesn't have that experience. So he's still live to make a mistake and get caught with something, but Connor Matheus is... Paul used to have this is way back in the day. Paul would always have this saying where he'd be like, that guy's the worst guy on the UFC's roster for the division. But in those days, there was only like 30 guys in the division. So it was easy to point out that is the worst one. Now there's 150 guys in each division. So it's like, this guy's god awful, but he could theoretically still beat that guy who's also god awful. Yeah, no, Matheus is the worst guy in the division. So Yadier should be able to go out there and make best of this this first opponent in the UFC.
Yeah, I think Yadier kicks his ass. It's interesting. Like in a lot of Yadier's fights, you got kind of go back, watch. He's really fishing for submissions in a bunch of them. He's got like a guillotine that he likes going to. I wouldn't be shocked to see him do that, but Matheus, in fairness, usually people just knock him out. That Montero fight, crazy that it even got to the final bell. Pena Alamov, who we bet against with Mansour.
Yeah, that guy's huge though.
He's huge. And that guy's super, super durable, hard to put away. So
Yeah.
was able to get the win there. And he has the guillotine choke against that Adam Smith guy. I watched that fight as well earlier. And he fought as well. Michael as well before that. I like what I see from him. He's aggressive as hell. He comes forward. He is the exact type of person that maybe Connor Matheus has a little bit of success early, but it's just like this guy's an absolute dog. He's super, super violent, and he is looking to try to finish you from the moment they say fight. So, yeah, I think he absolutely rolls through him. Minus 430, of course, like for a debuting guy, it does seem a little bit. It's like, but I mean, if this fight was on Contender Series, this fight could just be on Contender Series, right? And you wouldn't be like, oh, like he beat Montero, who's like 17-3 on Contender Series. Well, now he's fighting Matheus, who got into the UFC and has literally done nothing since he came into the UFC. Literally just catching L's. I guess he beat this Yadier Farias on Dana White's Contender Series.
That guy's a fraud, man.
Exactly.
10-0 my ass.
So I don't really care he's making his debut fight because, like, Connor Matheus literally hasn't, like, he's gotten finished by Bazooka. He got finished by Delgado, absolutely smashed him. Like, those takedowns were very, very brief, and it was not remotely competitive. Like, Yadier,
it was 3 months ago. It wasn't even that long ago.
Yadier's gonna get him out of there.
Yeah.
And maybe the more savvy way to go about it is the inside the distance, because like KO is a lot more likely. Just based on how Matheus usually loses when he gets finished. But yeah, Matheus may have some success early, but it's like I've seen time and time again. It's like DelValle's got really good cardio. He's gonna keep coming. And I think Matheus will fold. Maybe one of those, if you're like a round 2, round 3 type of bettor, maybe that's how you approach it. But yeah, I mean, Yadier, I expect Yadier to absolutely kill this guy. If we're wrong, egg on our face, say la vie. But we move on down. We've got Luana Santos taking on Tainara Lisboa. Santos is a minus 160 favorite. Lisboa can be had for plus 140. This fight's back up at 135. Santos had been down at 125. Takes the L against Casey O'Neill. And then I guess she's coming back up to this division. Maybe she's worried about her cardio at that. Who knows? There are a lot of people moving kind of weight classes on this card. It's a bit of a strange one in that respect. Lisboa is coming off of like a 2-year layoff here where she had like what sounds like an incredibly serious knee surgery that she didn't really know if she was ever going to come back from. She's 34 years old. So there's obviously major concerns there. Her grappling isn't the greatest. Santos at her best, is like the fight against Egger, was able to neutralize. She's got like a nice judo background, so like able to neutralize somebody like Egger and keep the fight on the feet and kind of edge out that type of fight against somebody who used to fight at 145. Lisboa, at least in the UFC, we've only seen her against that Ravina Oliveira or something like that, who never fought again after losing that fight.
How did that girl get on the roster is a great question. But also, is she still on the roster currently? It's also a great question. I don't know what the hell's going on there.
She's probably collecting some, of the medical benefits of being a UFC fighter. The getting takedown against Ravina wasn't a great look. The Jess Clark fight, not the most horrible look. I don't know. She's got like a Muay Thai kickboxing background. If you go on her record, she's got a kickboxing loss to Chev.
Two of them.
Two of them?
Yeah.
I think it's dog or pass here, bro. What about you?
I got Luana Santos, but it feels trappy because I couldn't tell you why is it even money? Or why is Luana
It's not
Santos?
even money.
Yeah,
It's minus 160.
Is minus 160 for Lisboa.
No.
Oh,
Minus
for
160
Luana.
for Santos.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, I think it opened, it was like fairly close to even money. And yeah, I'm not really understanding it. Listen, for Lisboa, as Paul mentioned, she hasn't fought in nearly 2 years. She's 34 years old. She's coming off the layoff, 34. But yeah, you go back and she fought Shevchenko twice in kickboxing, lost both of them. That's in 2010. It's 15 years ago. She fought Big Norma Dumont, yet got subbed in the first round because she doesn't really have a grappling game. Her loss to Lorani Santos, when you watch that one, she's getting out grappled again. The fact that she got taken down by Jess Rose Clark, I see that as problematic. Yeah, she doubles her up. Yeah, she finishes in the third. But I don't really rate Jess Rose Clark. The fight with Ravana Oliveira, Ravana takes her down multiple times, and she's low output in that. Her grappling game's not all that good. She doesn't look super athletic. Then she takes the layoff. Now, keep in mind, she's 34 years old. So, did she make any improvements? I honestly don't think so. What her ceiling is, I don't think very high. The one win in the UFC is essentially over a nobody. And then before that, or the two wins in the UFC are over low level competition that's no longer on the roster. Rose Clark's been retired for almost 2 years, and that's probably your best win. So, problems. Luana Santos, meanwhile, she's 25. So, like, yeah, she's going back up to 135, but I consider her still to be a prospect. I mean, she does have a decent enough judo game, solid grappling, but she's got legitimate power in her hands. I don't know if that power will translate from 125 back to 135, but her fight with Juliana Miller, like, everything she throws crushes Miller. She lands like 60 significant strikes in the first like 4 minutes of the fight, and then it's done. But heavy power. Egger, as Paul mentioned, the Egger fight, this one's weird. She moves up to 135 and she missed weight. She came in at 139. And Egger's a judo black belt as well and a big girl for the weight class, and yet she's able to neutralize Egger. Maria Agapova's awful, and she makes her look like she's exactly that. First round submission, no adversity. And then she runs into Casey O'Neill, that was a good version of Casey that fought a good fight. I'm not going to discredit O'Neill. It was a solid performance, but I'm also not going to discredit Santos that she got fraud checked or she's not good anymore. She's a 25-year-old prospect. Losing this fight was good for her. Go back to the drawing board, make some improvements, decide you want to go back to 135 and fill back out, and whatever it is that you need to do. I feel like Santos is faster than her, a little bit stronger. I don't know. Again, it's like I think she'll just land her the bigger shots. Let's say the volume ends up being close and competitive, which I think Santos will have more volume, but let's say that ends up being close. I feel like she'll have, maybe some heavier shots than Lisboa. Being able to make some takedowns, that would certainly help the cause, but just hitting her more often than you're getting hit is going to be the name of the game here. So, yeah, I get it. CF dot model and women's MMA, and might as well take the underdog. Like, I do understand that, but Juana Santos has some upside. She's someone that's going to be fighting in the UFC for another 5 years plus. Whereas Lisboa, I mean, I'm shocked that she's even still with the UFC. She's not really been up to much. She is 2-0 with the organization, but not non-riveting performances.
No, she had like a really bad knee injury.
Yeah, she has a real bad injury. And so part of you is like, real bad injury, buyer beware, buyer beware. But like, yeah, we talked about that Sullivan Coley getting his knee reconstructed over on the PFL card a few weeks back, and he looked really, really good. So like, yeah, it's hard to say what a knee injury will do to them. Oh, they had a knee injury, not a good sign. Or, yeah, their knee's 100%,
spirits. I was looking at her
85% for
Instagram.
the
She
first
seems
time.
happy. She was worried that she was never going to be able to come back again. And then I don't know. I was watching her hit pads and stuff. It's just like, all right, we'll see where this market goes. Yeah, I don't know. I watched that I watched that Luana Santos fight. In the moment because I was on Santos against Miller. I was just like, this is great. But it's just like I went back and watched that. It's just like she is just going like this, bro. It's
She's
just
just
like
swanging.
against somebody who's a more technical, crafty striker. It's just like, and like, let's face it, Miller, good grappler.
Terrific.
She's just there for the taking in that spot. I think again, like if you do that, if you come out there guns a blazing like that in this fight, you could be in some trouble. But we'll see where the market goes over the course of the week. For me, it's dog or pass. Cody's got Santos. We move on. We've got Denise Gomes taking on Elise Reed. Gomes a minus 550 favorite. Reed can be at for plus 400. Who you got?
Yeah, I mean, not that Tapology pictures are anything, but when you look at the matchup on Tapology, Denise Gomes looks like she's knocking on your door, being like, "Where's the money, you Centino?" And Elise Reed looks like she's your elementary school gym teacher. And I think it'll largely play out exactly like that come the actual fight, come Saturday. Denise Gomes is like very physically strong. We talk about Brazilian fighters all the time, right? They're some of the best fighters in the game because a lot of them are very explosive, they're athletic, they're physically strong, and then they have good technical gifts. When you look at Denise Gomes, it's like a lot of the girls that she's fighting, she's able to just largely go out there and overpower. Some of these notable wins, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, her last time out, almost doubles her up in the significant strikes, but Karolina just can't move her backwards. It's like it's very hard to kind of throw her off her game. Eduardo Moura, I don't rate. Moura took her down 5 times, but Moura's huge and really only had takedowns. Outside of that, it's Denise Gomes that's constantly scrambling and getting back up and then landing those bigger shots. Angela Hill had taken her down 5 times. That's problematic. No doubt it's problematic, but she's constantly scrambling, getting back up, and landing some good strikes. Losing, that's fine. Losing to solid contenders like Angela Hill that have been in the ringer with lots of girls, Lumalu Bume, that's all fine to me. But no doubt about it, there is a hole in her game with her takedown defense. It's 67% on paper, but if you shoot multiple takedowns, you'll get her down. Moura with 5, Angela Hill with 5, Lumalu Bume with 4, even Ryan Dos Santos, who's a 105er, she had managed to take her down. That would be the hole. Luckily for her, she's got an Elise Reed. Elise Reed has no wrestling. She has no wrestling. And beyond that, it's that she's very, very non-physical. She's just not strong. Like if they're in the clinch, she's the one getting pressed up against the cage. What she does well is that she could matador you from the outside. Taekwondo background, black belt, decent enough footwork, decent enough, point style punches and kicks. And if she can constantly be moving back, allow you to chase her, pursue her around the cage, maybe she can use a volume style game plan. I do want to just let you know, the people online that are saying Lisa Reed's a live underdog, she's got to win over Jasmine Jasudavicius. Slap yourself in the face, man. Okay. It means nothing. This is a ultra green version of Jazz. First and only time Jazz has ever fought down at 115, realized the weight cut damn near killed her, and has never tried to do it again. And if you watch it back, I thought Jazz won. So don't let something from years and years and years ago reflect a current opinion because Jazz is on this killer run. Elise Reed does not deal well with strength, physicality. She fights well off her back foot. It's the being pinned up against the cage while you're moving backwards. This is the Apex. It's a small cage. They are 115-pound women, so they don't need a whole lot of cage to operate with. But all the same, there's less canvas space than there would be in a large cage. Therefore, Denise Gomes is probably going to have to travel less of a distance to get to Elise Reed. Again, she's just got to go out there and she's got to try to land those bigger shots. I could see Reed beating her with volume. I really could. But the bigger, more damaging blows, the ones that will make the sound, the ones that will get the oohs and ahs from the 12 people that are in the Apex, those ones will be coming from Gomes. And I also think Gomes can mix in some takedowns as well and really solidify that. Why would you fight Reed and not try to take her down? Why would you do that? So barring that Gomes has 0 ring IQ and does not try to do it, then she's got a couple avenues to get this thing done. So I'm gonna pick her, but like it's women's MMA, and I don't love it. It's not like I can put everything on it this week. It's just we're making picks here. Gomes to me is the logical pick. She's who I will be playing. To what degree of confidence? Unsure. I don't love it, but I do. She's the rightful pick as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, like both of these fighters basically get taken down
That
generally
will.
kind of at will in a lot of their fights. Like the Gomes fight against Angela Hill, taken down 5 times. But yeah, the more physical fighter is Denise Gomes. She's still quite young, 1999, so 20,
25.
25, 26 years old at this point. And yeah, watching the fights back with like Mora Both of these fights actually have submission attempts accredited on UFC stats, but even in the Hill fight, there was a armbar attempt in like round 1 that she was throwing up. She hasn't really done it, but it's like, against Reed, maybe this is something they've been working on. Like, she's worked on obviously a get-up game, takedown defense, and was able to hang out there with someone like Mora, who's an absolute powerhouse at grappling, and get back to her feet and land, big strikes and edge out a split decision based on the powerful strikes that she was landing on the feet. Bruna Brazil, she was able to take down 3 times. I wouldn't be shocked if like Denise Gomes, from the submission attempts I saw, was able to pull one off. It's like plus 500. And that's the early week number. We'll see, when other shops open up, what becomes available. But yeah, I think that's kind of like a sneaky little prop that could come through. Armbar from guard. We've got, the type of fight that would speak to those
Yeah.
that type of situation. So that's something that I'm monitoring, but haven't put obviously money on as of yet. We've got Carlos Hernandez taking on Hyun Sung Park. Park, a minus 175 favorite. Hernandez can be had for plus 150. I don't really understand the Park love, bro. He took him 2 rounds to like get Shannon Ross out of there. Watch that fight back, and I was just
It's actually competitive when you watch it.
Way more competitive, and I'm like, oh, he's a favorite against Carlos. Carlos is perpetually underrated, and obviously, he's been taking on, Japanese or Asian grapplers, and maybe that's what they're thinking people will think about this matchup. But like, I think he's shown when he's not at a massive grappling disadvantage, which he was against Ray Saruya. And Tainara, went back and watched that fight. It's like Tainara's stand-up looked pretty darn good in that fight. So I'm not killing him for that matchup. Situations where, the grappling is at least competitive. Carlos Hernandez is able to, put up some decent volume. I believe he's a black belt in BJJ. Wrong fighter favorite, I think, in my books. Carlos Hernandez is the pick for me. What about you?
Yeah, I actually got Carlos Hernandez as well. Now, I will admit, Carlos Hernandez is a tough one for me because sometimes I think he's a good striker. I'm like, this guy's got solid striking. They don't want to stand with him. It's the reason everybody takes him down. They don't want to stand with him. And then sometimes you'll see him standing, and his standing also doesn't really look all that good. I think probably part of that is that he's worried that you're going to try to take him down. Like the Tainara fight, great example. The whole time he's like, this guy's going to shoot. So he has his hands low, waiting for the shot, and then Tainara just bombs him over the top with nice shots, really straight. Probably career best performance in terms of his striking. The Ray Saruya fight, he got those takedowns, immediately backpacks him, neutralizes him. There's nowhere for him to go. He's had some tough fights. Saruya is a top Japanese prospect. Tatsuya Taira is the top Japanese prospect. Alan Nascimento, it's like a 3rd-degree BJJ black belt. Like those are all tough fights. So I'm inclined to give him a pass in a certain sense. He needs to keep this fight standing, scramble, use all this UFC experience to your benefit, and I think he can go out there and he can get a win. His last time out, you saw him utilize his own offensive wrestling. I think Hernandez is someone that's slowly putting all the pieces together, improving those skills. World beater? No. But could he be a gatekeeper to the top 15? Potentially something of that nature, I do think certainly possible. With Park's undefeated and, Korean prospect and looks good. First of all, Paul Shaughnessy, don't fall in the Korean prospect trap like Lee last week. Gotta stay away from them. But really, to me, it's when you watch these fights. His fight with Topnoy Kurwan, the Thai fighter, he gets knocked down. He gets up. He grabs a Thai fighter who has zero idea how to grapple and is a 2-pack of Sig Day smoker, and he subs him. His fight with Sung Guk Choi, he gets dropped as well. He's hurt, and he's able to get the takedown and get the submission. And then against Shannon Ross, he didn't hit the canvas, but he's also hurt, man. Like, Shannon Ross is not only competitive, but makes it damn near 2 full rounds. Most troubling of all is, yes, he knocks out Shannon Clark. Not really. Shannon Clark took all of his best shots to the face. He dropped Shannon Clark with a shot to the body, which didn't see coming. If you're going to knock out Shannon, you think he'd be unconscious. But all the same, How does he match up against Hernandez? Well, his first 3 fights against road to the UFC level of competition, he's relying on his offensive grappling. This, I don't think he gets it done against Hernandez. Hernandez has fought much better grapplers than this, much better wrestlers than this. He should be able to defend, if not scramble and get back up. Okay, well, throw the grappling out the window. We're going to have a striking match, just like last time out against Shannon Ross, where for the record, he went 0 for 1 on takedowns on Shannon Ross. Okay, so let's say he goes 0 for 1 against Hernandez. He's forced to stand with him. Well, Hernandez might not throw as much volume as Shannon, but he's a better striker, and because he can take a punch, he can just roll with it a lot more. Shannon just gets over aggressive, where he's like, "Oh, I lost that first round. I can win this second. He's slowing down. I'm hurting him. I need to just put on a tremendous amount of pressure, and in putting on that pressure and applying that constant movement." Yeah, he ends up just getting caught himself. Fair. Against Hernandez, I think he's less prone to tire out. And so I need his volume to stay up. I need him to potentially mix in a few takedowns. I need him to make this a scramble the whole time out. But this is a coin flip fight. This is a 50-50 fight. This is a dogger pass fight. And Hernandez, more experience, just a lot of good qualities going his way. But probably best of all, plus money next to his name as well. And yeah, I'm chasing that as well, Paul.
Nice. Hey, we're finally on the same page on the prelims here. Finally, we got Tecia Torres taking on Luana Pinheiro. Tecia Torres minus 350 favorite. Pinheiro can be had for plus 275. It was actually minus 500 at some point. I gotta say, Tecia Torres at minus 350 is a little bit more appetizing. A little bit more appetizing at this point.
Definitely.
I got Torres here. I think she's been fighting obviously top level competitors over the last little bit. Round 1 could be dicey because Pinheiro does come out really hot. She throws heavy strikes over the top. It's like nobody knocks out Tecia. It's very, very hard to submit. Like you can, Mackenzie Dern was all up in her grill and then ended up getting the decision. But it's like Tecia was very smart at one point in the fight. It's just like Mackenzie's got her back. And then what she does is she just basically holds Dern up against her back, up against the fence. So it's just like there's really nowhere to go, nowhere to like get leverage for any of these. Like Ticia's just been around the block. So it's like I'm kind of happy that the market kind of came crashing back in a little bit because I think it makes Tecia a viable parlay option here. Luana Pinheiro's never really done it for me in the sense of it's like that round of Marcos fight. I think she's probably made some improvements and put in the work since then, but she seems to struggle with her gas tank in a bunch of fights. Not the most elite grappler, despite having some sort of like judo background. And yeah, outside of like throwing absolute looping hooks and stuff like that, I think she's outgunned on the feet here too. She only has a 1-inch reach advantage. It's like what one of Ticia's things that she usually has going against her. Sorry, that was the 2-inch reach advantage, I suppose. I don't know. Everything kind of just points towards Tecia. Now I actually think we're actually getting a more fair price. The market was going the other way, and I'm like, if she ends up being like minus 700, it's like, what are you supposed to do with that? But Tecia Torres is the pick. If you're making parlays and stuff this week, if she absolutely busts out, well, at least it's the first fight. You can rebuild. But Torres for me, what about you?
I got Tecia Torres as well. I'm minus 500. Then you start falling back into the women's MMA, CF Dogma. I get it. 350. That's Paul's saying. Sounds a lot better. Here's my crazy tinfoil hat prediction. Will it come true? I don't know, Paul. But could you let me know what the Tecia Torres by TKO prop is?
I was actually considering this
because Tecia really does not finish anybody ever. I think that's really the knock on her. The vast majority of her wins are by decision, and when I mean vast majority, I mean like 95%.
Early market is plus 800. but
Yeah, plus 800 down
and it
from
did
plus
move, so that means
somebody.
everyone else is going to copy. That's how this this is how this goes in the streets.
Yeah, I mean, like, if I could get one of those 9-1, 10-1 props, I feel like has a chance. And what I'm getting at is that, yeah, Tisha's been historically very decision-oriented fighter, but
Mhm.
it's not for lack of effort. She'll go out there, she'll land big shots. It's that she's fighting all of the best girls. She's fought Jessica Andrade, Joanne Jacek, Zhang Weili, Rose Namajunas, like just all of the champions, and she went the distance with all of them. If you go back to her fight with Sam Hughes a few years back, they stop it after the round. It's not like it's a clean finish, but she's just going hard the entire time. Now, here's what I want to outline, right? Little Mama T ends up taking some time off because she has the kid. But her last loss, dating back to 2019, is this Mackenzie Dern fight in 2022. Now, I bet Mackenzie Dern and woof, talk about a greasy split. No way Mackenzie Dern won that fight.
No.
They give it to her. I'll take it. But they robbed Tecia. And then this
Yep.
Tabitha Ricci fight, I also bet Tabitha Ricci. Talk about a sweat. They totally robbed Tecia. Her last time out against Carla Esparza, she didn't get a finish, but she fought a very violent approach. She put a lot of damage on Esparza, especially as it got to rounds 2 and round 3. She just kept chugging along. And so Tecia Torres, the tiny tornado, she's one of these fighters that even though she's low on finishing abilities, she's high on just like constant work rate and constant trying to put you in a bad position and constant causing you to rethink your life here. A lot of these fighters, Tabitha Ricci, Carlos Esparza, Mackenzie Dern, Angela Hill, they're all top of the food chain. Luana Pinheiro's got that quit in her. Paul referenced the Randa Marcos fight. She starts off very, very hot. She has a good first 4 minutes. Soon as she gets reversed, as soon as it's like, oh, I've scored 5 takedowns in the first 4 minutes of the fight, but I cannot hold this girl down. She quits. She looks for the quick way out. She gets a DQ win, takes it, happy with that. After that, she barely edges out Sam Hughes. Her fight with Michelle Waterson outstruck her 61-44 and took her down. Her fight after that, Amanda Hebus knocked her out, and she's completely gassed in the third round, gets teed off on, and gets put away. And then, yeah, she gets submitted by Angela Hill. What? Submitted by Angela Hill with the second round guillotine choke. And then her last time out, Jillian's a violent finisher, and Jillian really did not get much going there. So
No.
I'm not saying she's like flaky and has zero durability. I'm saying if you really put the pressure and the pace on her, you can break her. And Tisha's been robbed on so many of these really close splits, and all of her fights go to decisions. So she needs a big moment, and she needs something to show the UFC. Hey, why is Tisha's got what, 20 fights in the UFC? And she's the very first fight on a free prelim or a free fight night card at the Apex.
Maybe they gotta like babysit. Like, do her and Raquel have a kid?
I don't know, but Raquel's a
Maybe it's
UFC
like that type
champion.
of
Your
we can't
wife,
find a
your
sitter. Just
wife
put
is
her
a
on the
UFC
front.
champion,
I
right?
don't know.
Your
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't make sense. Your wife's a UFC champion. You got the kid. You have. I just looked at 17 UFC fights, 4 for Invicta. Fought in absolutely everybody, and never been finished. Never been finished ever in her entire career. She may have the greatest durability of any fighter at any weight class. She's fought all of the champions and all of the top 5 contenders, and has never been finished by knockout or submission. Even on exhibition fights on The Ultimate Fighter, same thing. So I got a lot of respect for Tecia, but Tisha's at that stage where it's like nobody cares unless you make them care. So she comes in, has a violent approach to it. I could see her forcing a TKO. You may, instead of just taking this straight up 8-1, you might be able to get a Tecia Torres round 3 or a Tecia Torres round 2, and that likely pays better than your 8-1. So maybe just go that way, because if she finishes, it ain't gonna happen in the first round. It could happen, but it's not likely gonna happen early. But yeah, outside of that, that's all I got. So Tecia Torres straight up at that minus 350 money line. Sure. Small little stab for the culture on the tiny tornado to just gust right through this girl, take her out. So Tecia Torres by knockout. Depending on the best price I can get, I'll shop around a bit, see what's up.
The only way that I could see it making sense that like she's so far down the card is that maybe there's only one fight on like Fight Pass. So they're like, this is like the Fight Pass, you know. This is like the featured early, super early prelims fight on Fight Pass, and then everything else is on TV. It's the only way it really makes sense, because like, why is Elise read Denise Gomes further up the card. Luana Santos versus Tainara Lisboa. Like, sorry, like if you're actually thinking about like belt order and stuff like that, doesn't make sense whatsoever. Gabe
It,
Green versus
honestly, it
Matheus
doesn't.
Camilo. Like none of these fights should be ahead of Tecia Torres, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the main card is actually stacked. Julian Erosa, Melk, sweet.
Yeah,
Ruziboev
yeah,
versus
no,
Stoltzfus, man, that's violent. I'm in for
sure.
it. Yusuff Sen, yeah, all that's good stuff.
Those are things I'm not saying.
But
I'm saying
but
that
but
like there's a
Tecia,
bunch of fights that like if you were
yeah,
actually stacking based on like quality of opponents and stuff like that, it's like this one being all the way down at the bottom makes zero sense.
yeah, you could be onto something though. Maybe they're like, hey, this card starts at 4, but we don't really want to go with our prelims until 5, and we have one fight. What's the one fight that possibly could go for a whole hour? Yeah, no, it'd be the Tecia Torres fight. She's done it before, but little do they know, Tecia and Cody are on the same page that she go and get TKO. At least that's what I'm hoping, anyways. Yeah, and then that's about it for me. I can hit you with the PRP, but I'll let Paul set me up for it, like good old times.
We are just about out of time, but before we go, hit him with the PRP code.
I thought you'd never ask, Paul Shaughnessy. We're gonna go with Michael Morales, Rodolfo Bellato, Sodiq Yusuff, dog number 1, Nursultan Ruziboev, Melk Costa, Gabe Green, dog number 2, Jared Gordon, Yadier DelValle, Luana Santos, Denise Gomes, Carlos Hernandez, dog number 3, Tecia Pennington. So, to be honest, I thought it was like a really like heavy favorite card, but 3 underdogs, and I'm satisfied with the 3 underdogs I got. I'll be a lot more satisfied if the 3 underdogs I got all come through on Saturday, but now I got to leave that up to them, Paul. So that's
Who were
about
your
it
three
from the
dogs?
UFC. 3 dogs. I got Carlos Hernandez. I've got Gabe Green, and I've got Sodiq Yusuff.
Okay, yeah. And then Gordon's pretty much a pick 'em, so
Yeah, there's some value, and I'm like, again, we always bring it up, but
like I
actually
have
this
a
is a
bunch
week.
of quote
Go ahead.
unquote dogs this week, but it's like I'm not even betting their money line. I'm like taking up a long prop on this underdog in the hopes that Paul Craig and Gilbert Burns get the job done. But you know me, I play a little bit more of a risky game.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with it whatsoever. You're playing something at 10-1, so it misses, and someone's like, "Oh, you got it wrong." It's like you don't understand like plus money betting, and that I don't need to get this one every time. I need to get it one every 9 times. But yeah, again, I don't. We're done explaining that to people. Bottom line is, sometimes when you see these cards where you don't trust 2 or 3 guys to parlay together, then you go after props. Geez, these props all look pretty competitive. Then you chase some of these log shot props. So I see where you're coming from. I like the angle. It seems like we're on the same side. No, I don't know. I mean, we're on the same side, but you're going with certain props. Like I never once heard you say that you didn't like Sodiq Yusuff. I did hear you say you got the under,
I
right?
like the
So
yeah.
like, yeah, we differentiate on certain opinions of
And
how
that's
the
like a
fight
little
may
bit
play out.
narrative. It's like a little bit of like narrative nation as well. That I think like Santos felt the heat for like kind of a boring fight last time out. And Sodiq, it's like if you want to come and have a firefight in round 1, like he is down. Um,
He
so
is
we'll see.
down. If you're Sodiq Yusuff, it's like your last fight. They're like UFC 300, T-Mobile, and now it's like Apex. You're like, I gotta knock this guy out. There ain't no 2 ways about it. I need to knock this guy out. So yeah, maybe you're onto something, Paul. That both of them could really use not only a win, but a big win. And so that usually leads to violence. Fair
The
enough.
Contender Series is coming.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta remember that. You
Your
start
job
losing
is not
too many
secure.
fights at this time of year. Like, God, I love Sodiq Yusuff. He's, had a lot of very entertaining fights, and I don't think it would really be fair for the level of talent and ability I think a guy like that has. And like losing to Edson Barbosa, Diego Lopez, like
Tough
no
call.
real shame in that whatsoever. A 5-round decision against Edson where you almost got him out of there in round 1. You hit a PRP that night. I remember I was watching
Yes.
with my
Yeah.
brother.
Good times.
And yeah, that was a great night for the boys. But yeah, our butts were puckered in round 1 there because Sadiq Yusuff was putting it on him. But yeah, losing a fight to Mairon Santos now, it's just like you have a whole fresh batch. Yusuff's been around for a while at this point. He's probably making decent money. Like it's the sad nature of the business. But That is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. For Cody, I'm Paul saying goodbye and good luck.